Korean criminals being extradited from the Philippines back to South Korean soil for judgment are routed to a freighter vessel after air travel is deemed too dangerous. On their last leg of duty before welcome homecomings, law enforcement is to accompany a double-digits clan of wrangled evildoers meant to stay in custody. Before we're adequately introduced to handcuffed future inmates and exhausted detectives, deadly mayhem breaks loose when stowaway mercenaries release tattooed uber-villain Jong-du, Seo In-guk. Prisoners now roam free, and the remaining officers are under attack. If there's one qualm about Project Wolf Hunting, it's the meat-grinder nature of events that doesn't care to characterize, well, anyone. Jong-du is easily definable due to inked head-to-toe artwork. Multiple bare rump shots confirm, but otherwise, most of the fugitives are fleshy pawns. The same goes for upstanding police ranks positioned outside makeshift cells, existing as opening siege fodder, all under a steely captain's command, played by Park Ho-san. Project Wolf Hunting is one of those movies where bodies appear on screen with one goal: hit the floor. That said, Hong-san never stops thrashing once he opens the pit, so to speak, which makes up for slighter development that doesn't matter once massacres ensue. As an ontes raised, safeties off, no-holds-barred action cocktail that's heavy on 90s pulp, Project Wolf Hunting slaughters mass numbers with the best of them. Characters have an appetite for bodily mutilation, as every bludgeon opens a faucet of blood that redecorates cargo ship interiors with K-horror extremism. Wounds spray crimson liquids with the intensity of the blood sprinklers from Blade's opening rave, while sound design overlays sickening crunches like bones shatter Mortal Kombat style with every blunt impact. Action is sensationally unforgiving as trigger pulls end lives without any monologues or hesitation. The reality of unceasing carnage becomes a reddened avalanche of caved craniums, detached limbs, and literal floods of blood so slick, convicts clamber on hands and knees like they're slipping over cartoon ice patches. Even better, Hong-san defies expectations when you think you've figured out Project Wolf Hunting. It's good versus evil on the open seas. Right? Jong-du's ranks square against officers who've matched themselves one-on-one, teeing up the rivalries to come, and then Project Wolf Hunter unleashes its horror surprise. It's the swing Project Wolf Hunter needs just when you think Hong-san might be leveling out, like an adrenaline shot between the eyes that tweaks tonal grasps from barbaric bruiser excitement to extermination survival horror. The rise in prominence and influence of Korean television series on Korean pop cinema has never been more apparent than in Project Wolf Hunting, a horror-tinged prison break thriller set on a cargo ship. In Project Wolf Hunting, a considerable ensemble cast of leering prisoners and square-jawed guards first stab and shoot at each other, then try to not be gouged or dismembered in turn by a mysterious, super-strong monster. As in a number of would-be franchises, the door is inevitably left open for a sequel. And as in a few TV series that have been disproportionately blown up to suit a feature-length production, there's way more perfunctory bloodletting than you might expect or need. Yes, I know, it's me saying that. Somehow, Project Wolf Hunting is not based on a television series. I thought it might be given how many speaking parts it has. Also, the movie's unabashed too-muchness can sometimes be attractive, especially if you enjoy made-for or adapted-from TV productions, and therefore hope for a few moments of eccentric charm instead of any kind of sustained dramatic tension. Instead, Project Wolf Hunting is a sluggish, by-the-numbers body count flick that too often looks like an overproduced video game. The movie's press release compares it to a Capcom survival horror video game as it's played by a distracted, button-mashing Twitch streamer. Believe me when I say that I wanted to love Project Wolf Hunting, especially given its creator's preference for atmosphere over narrative logic. Why overthink a movie where 47 prisoners, led by the unrepentant serial killer Park Jang-du, Seo In-guk, overtake a desolate freighter with some help from two teams of armed lackeys and a Mr. Big-type boss, who pulls all the needlessly tangled strings from a long-distance phone call away. Almost all the prisoners seem to not only know but also enjoy each other's company, and all of their guards seem to not only be sympathetic, but competent, in a generically hard-boiled sort of way. A languid connect-the-dots plot kicks off after Park escapes his handcuffs using a crooked metal pin that he hides under some dentures. Withdrawn fellow prisoner Lee Do-il, Jang Dong-yoon, also escapes, and then sulks in the background for a while. The prisoners riot, after spilling gouts of blood all over the ship and each other. Meanwhile, a small band of right-minded characters, including Do-il and Can-do cop Jae-yeon, Young So-min, band together, and ultimately take on Alpha, Choi Gwiwa, a zombie-like super soldier who was lurking at the bottom of the boat this whole time. No, seriously, there's a creepy berserker on this ship with staples on his eyes, no dialogue, and an insatiable need to pummel anything that moves by him, but, somehow, he's not the main attraction in Project Wolf Hunting. Even though the movie's title alludes to a top-secret military experiment that links Alpha with Do-il. Alpha's superpowers strong like 5 men. Genetic traits of Wolf. Motion activated. Batteries not included, are only explained at the 84-minute mark of a 122-minute movie. Until then, a torrent of blood overcompensates for a lot of otherwise monotonous on-screen violence. Several arteries rupture and more than a few torsos are shanked by characters whose personalities boil down to the fact that they're evil and they know it. At least the sound design features some appropriately icky hissing and crunching sounds. Then again, Alpha doesn't really do anything memorably gross until about 78 minutes into the movie, at which point he rips one victim's arm off and beats the poor guy to death with his own severed appendage. That was alright. Nobody should expect high art from a movie where paint-by-numbers badass Jae-yeon scowls and sighs that the prisoners had the transport rigged from the get-go. We got worked. But every little shock and effects-driven prick to the spine only confirms what the last one did. The filmmakers only know how to play one note and they never learned how to make it sing. For proof, see a phone call to the shadowy mastermind behind it all, whose dramatic climax is only achieved after a noisy act of fellatio is terminated by a snap of the neck, and the not-so-casual revelation that a guy was performing oral sex on another guy. Don't overthink it, they're just trying to make you gasp, and have no idea how. There's a definite beginning, a doughy middle, and a gaping end to Project Wolf Hunting, but they somehow don't cohere into a feature-length spectacle. Plot, characters, and performances, none of these matter as much as the lavish gore that coats the movie like the watery gawk that soaks latter-day Gwar concerts. Fine by me, but when does the movie start? Project Wolf Hunting begins with a mass return of Korean criminals captured in the Philippines. As they're being led through Seoul Airport, somebody with a grudge against one of them detonates a suicide bomb, killing himself, his target, and everyone else in the vicinity. To avoid a repeat of this, the next group is to be transported on the Frontier Titan, a specially fitted-out cargo ship, and delivered to a pier in Busan Harbor to which the public doesn't have access. I guess simply flying them into a military base never crossed anyone's mind. The Frontier Titan leaves Manila with 47 criminals, 20 guards, 2 medics, and the ship's crew. At least that's what they think they're leaving with, because several of the crew have been replaced with gang members and there's a 41st passenger in the hold who is more dangerous than any of them could know. From the start of its festival run, Project Wolf Hunting was consistently described as an incredibly brutal and bloody film. That's putting it mildly. After a slow build-up through the first half hour, the film becomes an exercise in carnage for the rest of its 2-hour running time. Jong-du, Seo In-guk, Doraemon the Movie, Nobita's Treasure Island, Doom at Your Service, and Do-il, Dong-yoon Jang, Josie an Exorcist, Just Dance, escape and begin killing the guards and freeing the other prisoners. From there the ship becomes a bloody battleground as the two sides fight for control and survival. Knives, guns, fists, and bolt cutters are all put to use as writer/director Hong Soon Kim. The Chase, by Ian Chin, stages a seemingly endless series of battles everywhere from the ship's bridge to the engine room and cargo holds. It is relentlessly bloody and brutal, but not to the same degree as last year's festival favorite Bloodbath, The sadness. Scattered throughout the first half of Project Wolf Hunting are glimpses of what appears to be a maggot-infested corpse on life support stashed in one of the ship's holds. This is Alpha, Choi Gwiy, trained to Busan, the whaling, the product of Project Wolf Hunting, an attempt at creating a super soldier. Unfortunately, rather than creating Captain Korea, they created a super strong zombie-like killing machine. Jason Voorhees crossed with Universal Soldier for lack of a better description. At this point, Project Wolf Hunting manages to up the carnage level to 11 or maybe even 12 as Alpha, showing no favoritism, begins killing anyone who crosses his path. That includes the brutal sledgehammer killing of what I thought was going to be one of the film's main characters. But by the time we're finally clued in as to the actual extent of Alpha's powers, and his connection to one of the few survivors, it's clear that most of the cast were there simply to be stabbed, shot, have their head crushed or an arm ripped off and beaten to death with it. It's an 80s slasher not only on steroids but with a bad case of roid rage. So Project Wolf Hunting goes, piling on outrageous conspiracy plotlines about unlikely Team UPS, umbrella-type experimentation, and merciless corporate expendability. Cinematography, music, and performances somehow never run out of breath as Hong-sun barrels forward with guns blazing. There's a deep rising vibe that substitutes Midway, except more slasher-friendly in terms of where Hong-sun draws later influences once Jong-du causes enough senseless havoc. The experience ensures that audiences understand no protagonist or antagonist is safe and that mutilation remains a favorable priority. Neither approach will resonate universally. Screenplay nuts and bolts could use a quick tightening but will work gangbusters for the midnight maniacs who tune in for statement-maker bloodbaths. Project Wolf Hunting goes for broke in terms of exquisite beatdown violence in the pursuit of primal genre happiness. Writer/director Kim Hong-sun executes like there's a going out of business sale on fake blood, and we reap the benefits as show-stopping displays of action horror devastation take center stage. Fugitives and coppers aren't just killed, they're pummeled into oblivion until maybe half their identifiable traits remain if lucky. Project Wolf Hunting is a cornucopia of killing machine kookiness that keeps reminding us why South Korean horror frequently reigns supreme, and leaves us wanting more even after Boat to Busan docks for a refuel.